It's a deliberate attempt to con you and cheat the opposition, but your hands are tied. You have to send him off and allow another player to take his kick. All you can hope is that when you report the facts after the game, the competition will do the right thing, intervene and award the result to the opposition. Welcome back to the Ref Show with Brian Deane and Deane Mohareb. Let's complete our Premier League roundup, after which we'll go on to the Championship. There'll be fans of certain clubs who are eager for us to pan certain referees as a result of decisions over the weekend. We'd always try to be fair. Andre Marriner, let's start on a bright note, because one or two ref cams I've seen recently have extolled this referee. He really is in prime form, not least again in Mark Halsey's ref cam matches, Liverpool's 4-2 win at Crystal Palace. Andre must have looked at the ref cam report and thought, well, I'll take that.
Well, if Mark House is giving praise out, then he must have had a good game. But no, I watched the game as well, and I just think Andre Marriner at the moment is one of the informed referees. And I'd like to see the PGMOL be a bit more adventurous with their appointments now and start to give referees like Andre real top games, because he's refereeing really well. Number of incidents for him to make judgments on around penalties again. Yeah. But in my opinion, he got them spot on, and I think, you know, a couple of people are saying the Benteke one, the Zaha one, could have been penalties. Yeah. They could have been. There was contact, but for me, again, err on the side of, if you're not 100% sure, you don't give it. Yeah. And I think he's refereeing so well at the moment, Andre Marriner.
The last one, the final penalty shout, Zaha, looked as if it might have been, but we give the benefit of the doubt to the referee, and he had a flurry of big calls to make in a short space of time, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah, and there were similar incidents, the two penalty decisions. So, you know, I don't think Wilfried Zaha's helped himself really. Just the way the ease at which he's gone down, and that's part of the problem for me.
Okay, just the backdrop to the game. Following the game, Alan Pardew, the Crystal Palace manager, should he have said this in the first instance? He said that Marriner shouldn't have been appointed to the game because he gave Liverpool a very late penalty when the sides met last season. You know, as if, has that got anything to do with it?
No, it's ridiculous. I mean, on that basis then, none of our top 5 referees would ever do Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, because they'll have made decisions in the past which won't have gone, in the team's view, in their favour. So I think Alan Pardew, that's a bit of sour grapes from him.
I mean, you could argue that, as you say, with any referee appointment, because there's always some kind of history, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the problem you've got is that when a team's lost, there's always a deflection from a manager. You know, maybe some of that's to buy time so that he can, you know, reflect himself on what's happened in the game. But obviously, you've got to realise as well that there's a cause and effect. So, like, you know, people will bring this up.
Well, of course, that will be the headline as well. That will be highlighted, because it's the most dramatic thing that either manager said, and unfortunately it involves the dear old referee more often than not. But it's something that need not have been said, and we'll kind of brush it aside here. Bobby Madley's game, Spurs draw with Leicester City. Interesting here, there may be a variance of opinion. There was a penalty given to Spurs for grappling. This was against Robert Huth. Now, Keith Hackett's view is quite clearly referees, if they see this kind of arm contact with players, they've got a duty to support Mike Deane and others by giving a penalty. And Huth is a serial offender. It wasn't a clear-cut one, but nevertheless, it was there if you wanted to penalise it. What do you think?
I don't think it was a penalty. And I think there's 2 reasons that I didn't think it was a penalty. One, because I didn't think Huth fouled him. Secondly, in the immediate element of the game prior to this, there's a foul on Huth, which, to be fair to Bobby Madley is, I think he came from a free kick. Bobby Madley's got a central position on it. The assistant referee has got to see that. And I'm disappointed he didn't indicate to Bobby that a foul had occurred there. And I understand what Keith's saying. I understand what, you know, the element around Mike Deane and getting rid of grappling. But to me, you give things as you see them. And for me, that wasn't a penalty.
Have you got any sympathy for Robert Huth there, Brian?
No, as a forward who's, you know, been in that situation where defenders, you know, rather than mark you, they grab you. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke up myself, but that was something I never used to do. I never used to grab shirts because I knew that, perhaps I might have a penalty against me. So it was always about defending properly, getting your distances right and your angles right, making sure that if the ball's coming in from wide areas, you're the first person to the ball, or if it's going to go over your head, you're backing in so that he doesn't get a clean contact. And that's defending. It's grappling, shirt pulling for me is one of the worst things you can do.
Not part of football, and you are the referees campaigning against it, led by Keith Hackett from the top, but there'll always be disputes while ever referees are clamping down on it, but less grappling does mean more goals.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing we should go in favour of, maybe. West Brom 0, Manchester City 4. Now, just one incident here for Lee Mason, and that was the one where Nolito of City, who's got a bit of form for this, thrusts his forehead into the forehead of an opponent, Craig Gardner. There's only a yellow card administered. What's your take, Deane?
I can't defend the referee on that. It's a red card. As soon as you put your head into the head of an opponent and you thrust it forward, it's a red card. And I'm not quite sure what Lee Mason has seen there, because he should have been dismissed.
Well, he's seen something to give the yellow. So.
And the difficulty now is the FA now cannot take retrospective action because the referees cautioned the player. So indefensible, that one. Should have been a red.
You agree?
Totally agree. I mean, again, it reflects on the team. He might have let his team down if he'd have got sent off. So he's got to show more discipline than that. It's a red card.
Okay, a few minutes left. A few minutes that we can use quite gainfully to talk about the Championship and the Football League, which threw up quite a number of things. Brighton 5, Norwich 0 was an astonishing result. You won't have heard about the referee there, Andy Madley. That's because he did very well and he's very promising.
Outstanding referee. 5-0 doesn't justify the amount of decisions he had to make in that game, and he got everyone spot on. I think he's a really promising referee, Andy Madley. And again, I'd like to see the PGMOL be a bit more adventurous and give him a test in the Premier League. Give him a go, because I think he's got the ability to do it.
Chris Kavanagh, another younger referee on the way up. This was Newcastle's 2-1 win at Preston, but there was a penalty incident overlooked in that one, I think.
Another good young referee who I think's got the potential, with the right support, to referee on the Premier League. He'll be disappointed with this, Chris, because it is a penalty to Preston, and I think in the aftermath he's actually apologised to the Preston manager, according to the media reports. So he's got one wrong, but he is still a very good referee.
Okay.
Apology. I like that. I think if you're a manager or a coach, you can accept that somebody's made a mistake. It's when you get arrogance, it's hard to forgive that for me.
We'll come to the big one in a moment. This was the denial of a Sheffield Wednesday penalty shout, more than a shout, at Derby in their 2-0 defeat there. But just briefly, Scott Duncan, Blackburn Wolves 1-1, Wolves equaliser. When you look at it again, was offside. Difficult one, because the shot coming in is a save. It's crossed by an offside.
Yeah, and the assistant's got so many things to think about. I mean, the guy in the middle is offside, so he'll be thinking that the shot coming in, is he interfering with the goalkeeper? But yeah, it's offside. Okay,
before we move to Derby, our very best wishes to Kevin Johnson, the referee at Plymouth, who got knocked out. Well, it looked as if he'd been knocked out. Yeah. Thankfully, later he hadn't been. A collision with a player in that game. Credit to the club there as well, because the doctor and the medical staff have taken really good care of Kevin, and he worked with me quite a lot in the Football League. Smashing lad, really good lad, so best wishes to him. Yeah, hope he gets better soon. For a full recovery to Kevin Johnson. And James Linnington. Sheffield Wednesday lost at Derby, but very early in the game, there's a goal-bound shot from Adam Reach. Richard Keogh on the line, or just in front of the line, denies a goal, and to quote Steve McLaren even, the Derby manager, Richard Keogh made a great save without his gloves on. Got away with it. No penalty, no red card. You've said it all, really, Alan. I mean, it's again, it's a difficult one to defend, because the referee's in an excellent position. James Linnington's really experienced. I can only think at full speed he's assumed it hasn't hit the outreached arm of Keogh. Is that outrageous? But it is, yeah. But it is. It's a penalty. The main complaint. I mean, people accept mistakes by and large, however annoyed they are at the time. The main complaint I've had coming from Twitter is, "Oh, this referee will be out again next week. Nothing will happen to him. No accountability whatsoever." Do you think there will be in this case? Well, to be fair, and I use the sort of incidents of players, if a player makes a mistake in a game, it isn't always the right decision to drop them for the following game.
And it's the same with referees. You've got to look at a referee over a number of games, not just take one incident. To be fair to PGMOL, there's a delegate every game. He will have been marked accordingly on that. He will have been marked down. And then using the average marks as the season goes along, the authorities will look at who is in form, who's not, and who gets the games. So I think that's a bit of an unfair statement from fans, but I do understand the frustration. It should have been a red card.
Indeed. Okay, Brian Deane and Deane Mohareb, thank you very much indeed for action-packed and very entertaining, hopefully, for you. Ref Show, thank you to you for your company, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye for now.